Most people assume that building a larger barndominium automatically means spending more money. But thousands of successful builds across America in 2026 tell a different story. Sometimes the smartest way to cut construction costs isn't building less, it's building differently. A simple design decision made before the foundation is ever poured can save tens of thousands of dollars, improve long-term functionality, and completely change how a home feels to live in. Yet it's a choice many first-time builders overlook altogether. Along the way, we'll uncover why vertical layouts often reduce foundation costs before a single wall goes up, how a smaller footprint can gradually lower roofing and utility expenses for decades, where two-story designs make the biggest financial impact on a build, and why building upward isn't always the smarter answer, no matter what the trend suggests. By the end, you'll know exactly which approach makes the most sense for your land, your budget, and the way you actually plan to live. I'm Mason, and every week we explore remarkable barndominiums, innovative home designs, and smarter ways to build across America. If you're planning your dream home, or you just enjoy learning how thoughtful design choices can save money and improve everyday living, subscribe to Modern Luxury Homes USA so you never miss practical ideas that could make your next project even better. In this one, we're taking a closer look at one decision that has the potential to save builders thousands of dollars in 2026 before construction even begins. Every barndominium starts with a simple question. Should you spread your living space across a single level or build upward and make better use of the land beneath it? The answer isn't always obvious because the real costs begin long before walls go up. They start with a decision most builders make in the first week of planning, without realizing how much weight it actually carries. Before a single beam is delivered to the site, the shape of your build has already started deciding how much it will cost. That shape is called the footprint, the total ground area your home covers, and it steadily drives almost every early expense on the job. A larger footprint means more land has to be cleared, leveled, and prepped before construction can even begin. It means more concrete for the slab, more excavation equipment on site, and more labor hours just to get the ground ready. In 2026, with material and labor costs still elevated from years of supply chain pressure, site preparation alone can account for a larger share of the total budget than most first-time builders expect. Here's why this matters. A one-story, 2,400 square foot barndominium and a two-story home with the same total living space don't cost the same to prepare, even though they offer the same amount of room to live in. The one-story version needs a foundation nearly twice the size. And foundations aren't just expensive, they're permanent. Once that slab is poured, there's no revisiting the decision. This is the cost most people never think to ask about, because it happens before the home even starts looking like a home. But that's the moment the real savings conversation begins, and it's about to get more interesting. At first glance, adding a second floor sounds like it should cost more, not less. More materials, more structure, more complexity. But that math flips once you look closer. When you build vertically, you're stacking square footage instead of spreading it across the ground. That means your foundation only has to support the footprint of the first floor, not the full square footage of the entire home. A two-story barndominium with 2,400 total square feet might only need a foundation size for 1,200 square feet, roughly half of what a single-story version would require. That single change ripples through nearly every early-stage cost. Less excavation, less concrete, fewer hours of heavy equipment rental, fewer laborers needed on-site during the foundation phase, which is often one of the most labor-intensive parts of the entire build. For many 2026 builds, this is where a large share of that widely discussed $40,000 savings potential actually originates, not from cutting corners, but from using the land more efficiently. Smaller footprints also tend to sit better on irregular or sloped lots, which can otherwise require expensive grading work to level out. That's an advantage that becomes especially valuable depending on where you're building. But foundations are only the beginning of the story, because once you start building upward, you introduce a completely different set of structural questions, and this is usually where first-time builders get blindsided. Here's where things get interesting, and where the vertical approach starts to lose some of its shine, at least on paper. A second floor doesn't just sit on top of the first one for free. It requires its own dedicated framing system, engineered to support the weight of everything above it: flooring, walls, furniture, and people. That framing adds cost. Floor joists have to be sized correctly for the span and load, and depending on your layout, you may need additional load-bearing walls or steel reinforcement on the first floor to carry that weight down to the foundation. There's no shortcut here. It's structural math, and it doesn't bend for a budget. Then there's the staircase. A feature single-story homes don't need at all. A well-built staircase isn't just a set of steps. It involves framing, railings, finishing work, and often a meaningful chunk of square footage that isn't usable as living space in either direction. Depending on the style and materials, staircases alone can represent a noticeable line item in a two-story build. Being balanced about this matters, because vertical designs aren't automatically the cheaper option once you account for framing and staircases. What tips the scale is usually the size of the home. Larger builds tend to benefit more from going vertical, because the foundation savings scale up faster than the added framing costs. Smaller homes sometimes see the two factors roughly cancel out. That explains part of the picture, but another important factor often changes the equation just as much as anything below the roofline. Roofs are one of the most expensive components of any home, and they're also one of the most overlooked when it comes to cost planning. The shape of your roof, not just its size, has a major impact on what you'll spend both up front and over the life of the home. A larger single-story footprint typically requires a larger, more complex roof to cover it. More valleys, more hips, more transitions where water can potentially find its way in over time. Every added angle increases material waste during installation and creates more seams that eventually need maintenance or repair. Vertical designs, by contrast, often allow for simpler roof geometry. A smaller footprint can be covered with a straightforward gable or shed roof, using fewer materials and requiring less skilled labor to install correctly. Simpler roof lines also tend to perform better in extreme weather, since fewer valleys mean fewer places for snow, ice, or heavy rain to pool and cause long-term damage. This matters well beyond the initial build. A simpler roof is generally cheaper to maintain, repair, and eventually replace decades down the line, which adds to the long-term value of a vertical design without much fanfare. It's a savings that doesn't show up on day one, but shows up every single year after that. One of the biggest cost-saving opportunities in this entire equation is still coming up, and has nothing to do with wood, steel, or shingles at all. Every barndominium needs plumbing, electrical wiring, and HVAC systems running through it, and the distance those systems have to travel affects both installation cost and long-term efficiency. In a sprawling single-story layout, plumbing lines often have to run much farther to reach bathrooms, kitchens, and laundry areas spread across a wide footprint. Longer runs mean more pipe, more fittings, and more labor hours for licensed plumbers, whose time in 2026 remains one of the more expensive line items in residential construction. Vertical designs tend to solve this by stacking wet areas directly on top of each other. A second-floor bathroom positioned directly above a first-floor bathroom or kitchen allows plumbing to share a single vertical chase, dramatically shortening the total length of pipe required and simplifying the entire system. The same logic applies to HVAC and electrical work. Compact layouts generally require shorter duct runs and wiring paths, which reduces both material costs and the energy lost as air or electricity travels farther through a system. Over years of ownership, that efficiency compounds into a meaningfully lower utility bill. This is where thoughtful design pays for itself over time, long after the contractors have gone home. But savings on paper only tell half the story. The other half is about what it actually feels like to live in these homes. And that's where the decision gets emotional instead of financial. Numbers explain a lot, but they don't explain everything. Because building vertically doesn't just change your budget. It changes how a home feels to actually live in. With a smaller footprint, more of your land stays untouched, which often translates into a larger usable yard, more privacy from neighbors, and more flexibility for outdoor living spaces down the road. whether that's a garden, a workshop, or just room to breathe. Second-floor rooms also tend to enjoy better natural light and improved views, since elevation naturally lifts windows above surrounding trees, fences, or nearby structures. Picture a primary bedroom on the second floor of a vertical barndominium, positioned to catch the sunrise over open land every single morning, something a ground floor room on a flatter, wider layout might never achieve, depending on its orientation. That's the kind of everyday moment that doesn't show up in a cost breakdown, but shapes how much someone honestly loves their home. Outdoor living tends to expand too. With less of the lot consumed by the structure itself, there's more room for a covered porch, a fire pit area, or just open space that makes a property feel expansive rather than crowded. This is the lifestyle case for building up, and it's a compelling one. But it isn't the right answer for everyone, and pretending otherwise would do a disservice to a lot of builders whose situation calls for something different. At first glance, building upward seems like the obvious choice once you understand the cost advantages. But that assumption falls apart pretty quickly once land and lifestyle enter the picture. And there are real situations where a single-story, wider footprint is truly the smarter investment. Aging in place is the clearest example. Stairs become a genuine obstacle over time, and for homeowners planning to live in a property for decades, a one-story layout removes that concern for good. Accessibility matters just as much for families with mobility needs, whether that's a wheelchair user, a family member recovering from surgery, or a household that simply values ease of movement over maximizing square footage efficiency. Wide, rural lots also change the calculation. When land isn't a limiting factor, some of the financial advantages of building vertically become less relevant, since there's no pressure to minimize footprint in the first place. In these cases, a well-designed single-story home can offer nearly the same lifestyle benefits as a vertical build, without the structural costs of framing a second floor or building a staircase. This is precisely where a lot of first-timers misjudge the project, assuming vertical is automatically the better financial decision in every situation. It isn't. The right choice depends heavily on the land, the household, and the years ahead. Before making a final decision, there's one more factor worth considering, and it has less to do with construction and everything to do with what happens after the home is finished. Construction costs only tell part of the financial story. Resale potential, long-term maintenance, and overall ownership costs matter just as much, especially for anyone who doesn't plan to live in the home forever. Vertical barndominiums often appraise well in markets where land is limited or expensive, since buyers are effectively paying for more living space on a smaller, more manageable lot. In areas with abundant, affordable land, that advantage shrinks considerably, and single-story homes may hold their value just as strongly, sometimes more so, given their broader buyer appeal for aging homeowners. Maintenance costs also diverge over time. Vertical homes tend to benefit from simpler roof lines and shorter utility runs, as we covered earlier, but they introduce their own upkeep considerations, like maintaining a staircase or servicing HVAC equipment that may be harder to access on an upper floor. It's important not to oversell either direction here. Neither design is a guaranteed financial win. Construction efficiency during the build is only one piece of a much longer ownership timeline, and the smartest decision is the one that matches how long someone plans to stay and what kind of buyer they might eventually sell to. That naturally raises the real question underneath all of this, the one every builder eventually has to answer for themselves. There's no universal right answer here, only the answer that fits a specific household. Families with young children often lean toward vertical designs, since separating bedrooms from main living areas by a full floor can create welcome distance and quiet during busy days. Couples building their first home together sometimes prefer the same layout, drawn to the way it maximizes yard space on a smaller lot. Retirees, by contrast, frequently move in the opposite direction, prioritizing single-level living for the accessibility and long-term ease it offers as needs change over the years. Homesteaders and hobby farmers, meanwhile, often value wide, single-story footprints for a wholly different reason: proximity to their land and outbuildings, where sprawling layout supports a working lifestyle rather than working against it. Hobbyists building dedicated workshop or studio space frequently favor vertical designs, specifically because they free up ground-level square footage for precisely that purpose, keeping living space compact while dedicating land elsewhere to their craft. None of these preferences are right or wrong. They're just different priorities shaped by different stages of life. And once you see it through that lens, the whole decision starts to make a lot more sense. So who should build up and who should build out? The honest answer is that it depends less on trends and more on three specific factors: the shape and cost of your land, how long you plan to live in the home, and how your household is likely to change over the years ahead. Builders working with smaller or more expensive lots, who want to maximize efficiency and don't mind a staircase, tend to see the strongest financial case for building vertically, particularly in 2020 SXS cost environment, where foundation and roofing savings carry more weight than they once did. Builders with wide, affordable land, or households prioritizing long-term accessibility, often find just as much value, if not more, in a well-designed single-story home. The $40,000 figure that opened this conversation isn't a guarantee for every build. It's a realistic outcome for the right project, on the right lot, built with intention rather than assumption. That distinction is what actually separates a smart investment from a lucky one. Choosing between building up or building out isn't really about which design is better. It's about understanding which design works best for your land, your lifestyle, and your long-term goals. The smartest barndominium isn't defined by the number of stories it has. It's defined by thoughtful planning, practical decisions made long before the foundation is poured, and a design that continues to serve your family long after construction is complete. I'm Mason, and thanks for spending part of your day with me. I hope this breakdown gave you practical ideas and greater confidence for your future barndominium project. If you found it helpful, let me know your biggest takeaway in the comments. Until next time, keep building smarter, keep exploring great design, and I'll see you in the next video. The construction costs, savings estimates, and design considerations discussed in this video are based on industry research and general building practices available during production. Actual costs and results may vary depending on location, materials, labor rates, site conditions, building codes, and individual project requirements. This content is intended for educational and informational purposes only and should not be considered professional architectural, engineering, financial, or legal advice. Always consult qualified building professionals before making construction or investment decisions.